Hi, welcome again to another program of Yeshiva Classroom, and this is being recorded on January 28th, 2020. January 28th, 2020, and it's being recorded beginning at 3 p.m. We just heard and saw President Trump, let him be well and be blessed, came out with a peace plan, which is spelled P-I-E-C-E, and they want to take away from the beautiful God-given country of Israel and make a Palestinian state from those people who immigrated from Lebanon during the last 200 years, and they're making them a country and dividing it up, unreal. And the basic thing that we want to bring out is that everything is from the Torah, from our Bible, right? We have a Bible that was divinely given, and in it lists the promises that Abraham received from God in chapter 15 in Genesis. He promises the land of Israel, of Canaan, with the inhabitants who lived there, to the Jewish people. That was so succinctly given, and it's brought down in chapter 15 in Genesis. And everyone should have a pen and write these quotes regarding where we can find the chapter and the verse, so that you can look it up, because it's not where I'm doing all the talking and you're not doing anything, because you're not going to get that much out of it. So look at Genesis chapter 15, where he promises the land to Abraham and his descendants, a heritage, meaning an inheritance to his children and his grandchildren. And he promises the same to Jacob and to Isaac and to all their descendants. So that is something that we have to bear in mind. And who brings this out? Where are our observant, God-fearing politicians who inhabit the Knesset, the Israel Parliament? Why don't they bring these words out to the president? And I want to tell you that President Trump has been blessed, because primarily he has helped the Jewish people. Jerusalem giving back territories, a whole litany of things that he's helped the Jewish state for. But we have to bear in mind that, it says in the sentences, write this down, in Genesis 12:3, chapter 12, verse 3, it says over there, whoever blesses the Jewish people will be blessed, and whoever curses the Jewish people will be cursed. It may not happen right away, but it'll happen. And that's one reason why President Trump has been so successful. And the same sentence is repeated in the book of Numbers, right? We have the Bible, the Jewish Bible, the only Bible that was given directly to the Jewish people, and hearing the words on Mount Sinai, not like the other religions who got their teachings, their laws through a individual like the God-man who sent out salesmen and missionaries and completed the teaching that he was sent by God. And same with Muhammad. He got an epiphany, and therefore he was told that he should convert, bring everybody back to his way of thinking by the sword, and that's how he came into being. individuals heard it, and they were commanded by some power that they don't describe, but alluding to the fact that it was God, and therefore they were on a mission. While the Jewish people, they heard the entire Bible and the laws and directives given to them on Mount Sinai. They heard it all. They heard all the rules and directives that was given on Mount Sinai. Unlike these other two that I mentioned, they got the message individually, and that's not a way for a supreme being to give over a message. He should give it over to other people, and these people should be told that Muhammad is your messenger, or J Godman is your messenger, and you should listen to them. Not that the divine voice should go to the God-man or to Muhammad, but really, if it's to be believed, let the other people know, and they will listen to their leaders. In one case Muhammad, in the other case the God-man. But the Jewish people entirely were in Mount Sinai. 600,000 males. Multiply that by the women and children and the older people, you got 3 million people. You try to do it. It's 3 million people listening to the Word of God directly, not a individual, but a mass of people. You try an experiment, and you bring. And what do? You bring find an uninhabited area in the world, and away from civilization, and you come to them and you say, listen, your last generation, your forefathers had a epiphany, and they saw the mountain burning, and the lawmaker came down and directed you to do these commandments and live by this rule. Now, how many people are going to believe that? They say, we didn't get a message. We never got any laws that were different than what we're doing now. So, but the Jewish people, unlike any other religion, has the people, the entire mass of Jewish people listening to them. So here we are. We're going back to President Trump, and he has been such a blessing to the Jewish people. Over there it says in 12:3, right? Whoever blesses the Jewish people will be blessed. And the same sentence is in Numbers 24:9. Just double the 12, 24, triple the 3 is 9, 24:9 in Numbers, and you're going to find the same sentence. Whoever blesses the Jewish people will be blessed. Whoever curses them will be cursed. So that's a teaching that President Trump has won for himself, because he's so good to the state of Israel and to the Jewish people, especially since his daughter Ivanka is an observant Jew, which she didn't need any of these trappings and teachings of the Torah, but she took it upon herself to live that lifestyle. Very interesting. So here we have a president that, and by the way, this is January 28th, 2020, and he's going to be speaking in Wildwood, New Jersey tonight, which is a suburb of Philadelphia, and that area is already inundated with followers. They're sleeping there all night to get a good seat, and that's the area where the lone Democrat changed to become a Republican and voted against the impeachment proceedings of the House. So he's speaking in that district tonight, and you're not going to be able to watch that because this is not going to appear for several days. So the point is, there are 24 written books of the Bible, and one of the books is Mishlei, or Proverbs. And what does it say in Proverbs? It says over there in Proverbs, the hand of the king is like a stream of water in God's hand. He can turn it any which way he wants. Again, the hand, the leadership of kings and power brokers and leaders are in the are like a stream of water in the hand of God. They are like a stream of water in the hand of God. You can turn it any which way you want. So right now, Trump is using his God-given free will abilities to favor the Jewish people and follow the Torah, not completely. And he has gone away and has given a program where there's going to be a new Palestinian state, which is against the teachings. And for that reason, maybe God will stop him. Maybe impeachment will come through, unlikely as it may seem. But this is where we stand. Now, you know, everything is taken from the Bible, everything we do. And I want to tell you that in Numbers, in the book of Numbers, it delineates the boundaries of the God-given land that was given to the Jewish people. So where are our leaders, and where are the observant people who follow the Bible and pick and choose what they want? But here in black and white in in Numbers chapter 34, verse 2 over there, it says, when you come to the land of Canaan, which is present-day Israel, this is the land that shall fall to you as an inheritance, right? The land of Canaan, according to its boundaries. Your southern boundary will be from the wilderness of Zin at the side of Edom, and your southern boundary shall be from the edge of the Salt Sea, right, the Dead Sea, to the east. The border shall go around south of Mala Akrabim and shall pass towards Zin and its outskirts. Look, there are several paragraphs here that delineate the boundaries, the borders of Israel, of Canaan, the land that was given to the Jewish people. It's unreal. And who is following that prescription? I mean, the evangelists and the Christians, they follow the Bible to the T. And here you have it in black and white, literally, telling you what the boundaries are. And where's the uproar? And for that matter, where's the uproar in the politicians of the Knesset, the Jewish House of Representatives and Congress? Where is their uproar and bringing out the fact that these boundaries are in the Bible? I mean, there are believers in the Jewish government, many of them. And who has ever brought this up? Chapter 34 in Numbers. It delineates the boundaries of the state of Israel. And who's following it? Look, here's a map. You know, President Trump ran out his map. But here, this is our map. The Golan, all the way to the south. The Red Sea. This is liberated territory. And that's the boundaries. You don't have to say, well, we want the settlements are going to be included, but surrounding, or the Palestinian state, who, by the way, immigrated over the last 300 years from up north in Lebanon all the way down to present-day Canaan, present-day Israel, and made it a state that they say belongs to them. So that's powerful, and we just hope that people come to their senses. And while we on that subject of the Knesset, in 1948 they had basically there's going to be another election in March 2nd, and basically the state of Israel has 120 seats, and a party that can do it alone or with other to a total 61, have a majority, runs the government. They haven't been able to form a government in the last two elections and during the last 3 months, so they keep calling for new elections. What's the point I'm bringing out here? Yeah, so the religious parties of Shas and Aguda and the right-wing parties of Yamina, which is right, and the greatest party is the Azamat Yehuda, the power of Judah, which is not projected to get any seats, but they follow the Torah, and they follow it to the T. So that's the deal where we are now. So remember that sentence in Mishlei, in Proverbs, that the hand of the leaders are like a stream of water in God's hands, and he can turn it in any direction that he wants. Will Trump be impeached? Doesn't look like it, but you never could tell. I mean, the Jews in Poland, right? In Poland, before World War II, numbered 1 in 10 people was a Jew. That was a large percentage, 1/10 of the population, and it might have been higher. I'm not sure of the statistics, but the point is, how did they get in such great numbers? And the answer is that there was, back in the 1600s, there was a king, a Polish king, who looked favorable on the Jewish people, and therefore he invited them in, and they were prosperous, and he let them live in peace, and they enjoyed prosperity. And unfortunately, they became assimilated, and you see what happened in World War II in Poland, where the concentration camps were set up, and the Polish Jewry were completely wiped out. So, but those are facts, and the problem is that the Jewish people have been warned. We stood in front of Mount Sinai. We received the Torah, right? We received the Torah. Actually, we celebrate the receiving of the Torah on Shavuos, right? And Shavuos, we see the pictures and in the movies where Moses comes down with the stone tablets. And what we heard at Mount Sinai, our forefathers, and the observant converts to Judaism, was that we heard all of these sounds of the Torah. And this is an important sentence. Look at Exodus chapter 24:12. After all of these things have been given to the Jewish people, and the people in mass said, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will learn. Then God said to Moses in Exodus 24:12, come up to the mountain, and I will give you the stone tablets. I will give you the stone tablets, the written teachings, and the commandments, which is the oral Bible, the oral Torah, the Talmud, right? and I'm going to give that to you. And basically, we want to say that all of this was given to him at Mount Sinai during that day. And Moses brought that out to the people. They got the stone tablets, they came down, the only physical object ever given to man, and the written Torah, and the commandments. Look at Exodus 24:12. So all of that was given at Mount Sinai. The 10 commandments were written in stone, and the people agreed that they will do and observe. And unfortunately, throughout many times in our history, we went astray. We went astray. And, you know, in chapter 11 in Deuteronomy, they're called a stiff-necked people, and it's mentioned how many times they went away and did not follow the commands. But you have to realize that there were a lot of charlatans around at that time and throughout the ages. It's like we have today with all these new ideologies springing up, trying to sell you a bill of goods to basically an ignoramus mass of people. And what had happened was that they didn't jump right away. They wanted to know if it was real, that God did send a lawgiver in the form of Moses, or when he asked them to do certain things. They wanted to make sure it wasn't an idol. So it's a stiff-necked people in that regards, and they wanted to know if it was really from a God, because they are a doubting people. They're from Missouri. It's from the Show Me State. You have to see it. They want to before they accept it. So yeah. So here we are, and what happened was they received the commandments, and the stone tablets were broken, because right away Moses came down late from the mountain, and he saw them starting to follow other ideologies, especially the Arab Rav, who were the Egyptians, who saw all the miracles of the 10 plagues, and therefore they wanted to come along with the Jews. But shortly thereafter, they, seeing that Moses did not come down, had regrets and returned to their old lifestyles, old worshiping, and led many of the Jews astray. It led many of the Jews astray. So what happened was that the Jewish people went into the desert, and they stayed there for 40 years, learning all the Torah and the different questions and answers that we come up with today, and even the Talmud, the explanation of the commandments were brought down and learned and orally transmitted from one generation to the next generation through the leaders of that generation. And the book tells you how many generations there are from Moses to Yehuda Nasi, who wrote them down in a Mishnah in an abbreviated form, and then 500 years later the entire Talmud was written down. So it's an oral law, but it's written down. And let's go into the Talmud, right? We're talking about the Talmud. What's the first Mishnah of the Talmud? The first Mishnah, which is brought down, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi brought down. And why is it so important? Why is it so beautiful? Because the way it's learned. It's question and answers. You got to think about it, and that's why it's so important to understand the meanings of of what we're doing. And the first a Mishnah says, Me'amosai in Aramaic, it was brought down in Aramaic, it was written down in Rabbi Yehuda Nassi's time. It says over there, Me'amosai korin hashema bi'arvin. From when to when are we allowed under the teachings to say the Shema Yisrael prayer of the evening? That was important. In other words, it's important to acknowledge that the God is the one and only entity, and we acknowledge that by singing the praises and saying the Shema Yisrael prayer of the evening and in the morning. So the Talmud says, from when until when can we read the Shema Yisrael prayer of the evening? That there, Shema Yisrael means there's one God, right? And so the answer is, Me'amosai koren Shema bi'arvin b'shar she'konim nichnosim le'echol truma. The answer is from the time that the Kohanim entered to eat their truma. You know, they were given a percentage of the crops because they were working in the temple the whole day. So it says from the time that the Kohanim entered to eat their truma, where they entered the Beis HaMikdash, which is today the Arab Al-Aqsa mosque, which is under the jurisdiction of Jordan. Go figure that out. Where Moshe Dayan just nonchalantly gave him over the keys, but underneath is where underneath that mosque is where the Holy of Holies were. Anyway, the point is that the Kohanim, and say, how does that answer the question? From the time that the Kohanim, the time that the priests entered to eat their truma. We're talking about in general where there is Kohanim that are tamei, became tamei, spiritually unclean, for a variety of reasons. So they could not enter the Beis HaMikdash. Could not enter the Beis HaMikdash. So they had to wait all day and then immerse themselves in a body of water, the mikveh, and then when they came out of the water and dried themselves off and entered, then they could enter the Temple Mount or the temple area, because they are no longer tamei or spiritual unclean. So what time is that? What time is that they can go into the mikveh when the day ends, and when they can go into the mikveh? When the 3 stars come out. That is evening. When the 3 stars come out, Kohanim can go to the temple and do the services. And the rest of the Jewish people can begin to say the Shema Yisrael prayer, which is, right, the Shema Yisrael prayer, which is incumbent upon them to say in the evening. But we want to know, when does the evening start? And we just now said that it starts when the 3 stars come out, when the Kohanim enter to eat their truma. So the question is, well, why didn't the Gemara ask the question, why does it mention the fact that of Tomei and Kohanim and Truma? What all I had to say is when the 3 stars came out. That's when you can begin to say the Shema Yisrael prayer of the evening. Simple as that. So that's what they ask in the Gemara, and the Gemara says that it's ordered to teach you things by the way. Ordered to teach you things by the way. In other words, to teach you about Tomei, teach you about Truma, what the Kohanim eat, who gets it, and all different kind of tangential but important teachings, right? And so where were we? It says, Me'amosai korin hashema b'arvin, from when until when, what are the parameters of when we can say that Shema Yisrael prayer of the evening? Misha she'kohanim nechnosim le'echol b'truma, from the time that the kohanim enter to eat their truma, right? Truma is 2% of a farmer's crop is set aside, given to the kohen, any kohen that he sees on the street. Now we just discovered, we just learned out when one can say, you can say Shema Yisrael prayer all day long, but in order to get credit, you have to say it after the 3 stars come out. Suppose that no stars come out, well, we can figure out when the 3 stars come out on a calendar. So that's the onset parameter, right? Misha she'kohanim nechnosim le'echol b'truma. Ad sheyala omer hashachar, up until the morning star comes out. That's the end parameter, which I believe is 45 minutes before sunset, before sunrise. 45 minutes before sunrise, you can say the Shema Yisrael prayer of the evening. That's according to one opinion, because Rabbi Yehuda Nasser wrote down all the opinions. He wrote down all the opinions when he wrote down the Mishnah, right? So one opinion is until Sheyala Omer Hashachar, until the morning star arises. Another one says Ad Hatzos, until midnight. You could say only until midnight. And the other third opinion says until I have to look in, whatever. Okay, the point is, we got a little tangential. We learned into the Talmud, right? We learned a little bit of the Talmud, a little bit about Mishnah, and we want to go over now to talk about Adam, the first man, right? Adam was the first man, and it's very important we go over these things, because even before Adam, listen, you know, this Seder is talking about portion that we read on Shabbos is Bo, right? And we're talking January or February the 1st, 2020. And so what happened over there in Bo? God hardened Paro's heart. You know, the king, he was called Paro. God hardened the heart of Paro, and meaning that he could only do bad things. He could only continue in his evil ways of hurting the Jews, even though he knew that they would be punished, and God sent one plague after another plague. But the question is, why should he be punished if God hardened his heart and he had no free will? He couldn't choose between right and wrong. Here, that's the question. It's a kasha and a tell. First, you got to get the kasha, right? Repeat it to yourselves. That from how come Pharaoh is punished when God took away his free will? He had no way to choose but evil, because it says God hardened his heart. So the answer is, one answer is that it's for the years that the Jewish people were enslaved in Egypt, in a total of 210 years. And there are some horrific acts of murder and slavery, and you name it, were ruled and suffered and beaten for those things. So that's why it's hard, and he was punished, because all those Egyptians now will be afflicted with the plague for having afflicted the Jewish people all these years. Now, we want to say, you know, in Israel, you know, they get a murderer, they convict a murderer, and what they do with him is that they put him in jail. They put him in jail. He gets 3 square meals a day. He's allowed to go to college. He got a degree, and his family gets paid by the Palestinian Authority for committing murder. and no one says anything. Oh, we don't want him to see the light of day. That's going to turn many people into martyrs. That's so crazy. And the whole leadership of the government is responsible for these murders, because the culprit, the guilty person, knows he's going to get a 3 square meals a day and his family will be taken care of. So who's responsible for these murders and the stone throwers? Okay, I don't want to go into that. But we were talking about Adam, the first man. God created man, Adam, the first man, and he put him in the Garden of Eden, and his basic job was to grow spiritually, to become more and more spiritual, accumulating marks on the way of realizing there is a God, praising and preparing himself for the final exam, preparing the anteroom so you may enjoy the dining room. And he is to grow in the knowledge of God by learning, and also developing his mind, his character, doing excellence in commanding the commandments and teaching these commandments to his fellow Jewish people. So those are things that he had to live by and to grow by. But what happened was that temptation was not a problem with him. His knowledge, understanding of things was so high that temptation was not a problem. But he was tempted to eat from the apple because it provided knowledge. And knowledge is what he thought, so that he could attain greater perfection or holiness. Holiness is what man is to strive for, holiness or perfection. And we give it Kavod Hashem, the honor of God, Kavod Hashem. And what does Kavod mean in Hebrew, Kavod? It's the endowment and praise for a entity like God, who has done such a great creation of man and his universe. So when we say Kavod Hashem, it means the honor and adornment that we acknowledge God for having created such a beautiful environment for man to live by and to earn rewards. And we have rewards and punishments on this world. Rewards and punishment in this world. Because the Jewish people have gotten this Torah, this Bible, from God, and they passed it down as an inheritance, as a heritage to the Jewish people and their forefathers. And over there it says, chapter 11, if you do the commandments, you will be prosperous. The rain will come in its due season, and you will be successful. But if you do not do the commandments and go away, then you look at chapter 29 in Deuteronomy, and over there it says, I think it's about 29:15, that the land will not accept the seed, will not produce produce, and you will be driven out of the land into exile, which we have seen so many times, driven out of the land into exile. And when in 29, Deuteronomy, it says that people who were not present at the first covenant were now present at the second covenant, same covenant, but they weren't present at the first covenant. You're standing before me, God is in your midst, and you're passing through the covenant. And over there, it says you're passing through the covenant, and the imprecations will be included. The imprecations, which is the curses, the warnings will go into effect. The warnings will go into effect because you did not, if you do not keep the commandments. And that's what it says over there in 28. There are 98 curses that will befall the Jewish people. And so that's 28, chapter 28. And it says in chapter 28, verse 69, these are the words of the covenant that Hashem commanded Moses to seal with the children of Israel in the land of Moab, besides the covenant that he sealed with them in Horeb, which is Mount Sinai. Moab is the area on the other side of the Jordan River, Transjordan. And here I'm going to give you a sampling of some of the 98 curses. Here it is in 28:64. Hashem means God, right? Hashem, the name, because we've never seen his image. But the name, it comes from Haya, to be, he was, he will be, forever. It says, Hashem will scatter you among all the peoples, from the end of the earth to the end of the earth. And there you shall work for gods of others whom you did not know, you or your forefathers, of wood and stone, and among those nations you will not be tranquil. There will be no rest for the sole of your foot. There Hashem will give you a trembling heart, longing of eyes, and suffering. It goes on. There are 98 curses. And you think that the Jews are deserving of these curses? I mean, look at today's Jewry. What percentage of the Jewish people are knowledgeable in Torah? Here, it's chapter 28, verse 61, about the curses and the warnings. Even any illness and any blow that is not written in this book of the Torah, Hashem will bring upon you until you are destroyed. I said, and any blow that is not written in the book of the Torah, any curse that is not written in the book of the Torah, you will experience. In other words, it's going to be something that is going to be horrific. God forbid we should not have any Holocaust. And that's what happened in World War II. Oh, the Rama said, well, we don't understand God. We don't understand God. 6 million people were killed, 6 million Jews, men, women, and children. There, the eyewitnesses account where naked women were thrown into trucks, crying, screaming, and the trucks bringing them then to the crematorium. And all this evil that was perpetrated against the Jewish people. Do you think that there's a reason for that? Do you think we're so righteous? But look, on Olenu prayer, the end prayer in the services says, in the world, again, it says, after Olenu, there's another few sentences. May it be your will, Hashem our God, and the God of our forefathers, that the holy temple will be rebuilt speedily in our days. Grant us our share in your Torah, and may we serve you there with reverence, as in the days of old. Okay, I didn't want to read this. I wanted to read something else, but no, I'm reading. Yeah, here it is over here. Say, Al tiro mipacha pusam ashachas rishoim ki sovo. Eitzo utzo v'sufa dabru davar v'lo yokum. It says over there, and it says over there, translating it, plan a conspiracy, and it will be annulled. Speak your peace, and it shall not stand. For God is with us. For God is with us. And unfortunately, we made a covenant, and we are not holding up our ends of the bargain. And I'm talking about the Orthodox. There's no denominations in Judaism. You know, they want to call these other new ideas denominations. You know, it's like everybody wants to reinvent the wheel from day one. We got to reinvent it. You know, it's not. We got to do a better job. I mean, the Christians, the Karaites, the Sadducees, the conservatives, the evolutionists, the atheists. Well, we you know, it's a new age. It's something new now. Those are old-fangled ideas. But God will only have mercy on us and give us time. And unfortunately, the Orthodox are not doing their job. And I'm talking about the rabbis, and I've spoken to several of them, and they've given me a deaf ear, because all they want to do is speak. Great, everyone likes a sermon, but the time is limited, and I have proposed that there should be a Beis HaMedrash. The synagogue should be open to a Beis HaMedrash. The services should be cut in half and gone over quickly. But the main time should be spent on learning the different pieces of Judaism, things that I'm giving over today, basic ideology, right? The beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. The beginning of wisdom is the awe and the fear of God. And that's what we have to do, and we get that through ideology, things that I'm speaking about today, right? And we know why different things happen. So, you know, hopefully we can get a Beis HaMedrash open, a Beis HaMedrash program open. I mean, if I ever come into big money, I would pay people, because people have limited time, and I would pay people like on a computer printout of questions and answers if they can pass the short quiz, you know, and give them whatever it is, an hour, and any way to get the people involved. And look, you can reach me, leave a message. It's not the best number in the cell phone. 516-280-0662. So that is for those people that are not in the Five-Town, Long Island area. In Queens, we're on 79 on Sunday, channel 79. They gave us a very bad slot. But anyway, YouTube messed it up also. They subtitling the YouTube programs into the wrong dates, where programs that are done 2 years ago are listed as being done 2 months ago. So those are outside the area. Yeshiva Classroom YouTube. Yeshiva Classroom YouTube. So here we go. So what happened? So Adam, right? Remember Adam? Adam, the first man. He was in the Garden of Eden. And it says over there in Genesis, you're there to work and to guard the garden. Work on the positive commandments. Work on the positive commandments and guard against transgression. And that was his job. But unfortunately, he went astray. He went after temptation because he ate from the book of knowledge, tree of knowledge. He thought the knowledge would be helpful for him, but it was not good. And it's a lesson we should learn, that if God teaches us that it's not good for you, you should not do it, even though you may think that it is a beneficial point. So he now has to struggle with striving to accrue holiness points, right? By doing praising God and studying the books, so that he can be on a higher level. That he must prepare in the anteroom so they can enjoy the dining room, right? You come tired and worked a whole day, and then you're going to go into the dining room. You're not going to enjoy the meal, right? So that's one thing that we have to bear in mind. So what happened? Adam, soon after he transgressed, his children went astray. They went after other ideologies. They worshiped the servants of God, the stars and the sun, and the planet went downhill. They're just lawlessness and corruption and idolatry and all kind of aberrations regarding sexual matters, and it had to be destroyed. And the mankind was destroyed, and Noah came into the scene with his ark that he was commanded to do, and he was asked to build it for a number of years so that the people could repent and follow the 7 mitzvahs of Noah. Noah had 7 mitzvahs that he is to live by, right? And that is the belief and the praising of one God, the fact that one should not have a bad description of our God, and to speak evil of him, right? It should set up, because everything comes from God, so we have to realize that God is to be praised and to be held on higher esteem, and also not to murder, and not to steal, not to there's a murder, steal, and adultery, right? And then also you should not be cruel to animals, and set up courts of jurisdiction to rule on matters. So that was Noah, and that Adam had, and couldn't live by them, and it was not passed down through his descendants. So Noah took the reign, and before no time, his children went off. Ham stole the land of Canaan, and God promised it to Abraham, because over there in Genesis 18 and 19, chapter 18, 19, for I know that Abraham will teach his children and his household the ways of God. For I know that Abraham will teach his children and his household the ways of God. So how does God know that if man has free will? It's because man in his free will is only able to think of acts that he wants to perform. He wants to think of them. sincerely think of positive acts or negative acts, hopefully he will be saved, because God is the determinant factor whether that act goes into fruition, right? So Abraham, he was made a covenant with Abraham in chapter 15. We spoke about that earlier, that Abraham was made a covenant with God, right, between the pieces, and he would, and over there the people would go into exile, and they would go astray until 400 years passed, and then they would go into the land of Canaan, or present-day Israel, because it took 400 years for the Canaanites to transgress that amount of sin that had to be thrown out of that land. So they were thrown out, and the Jewish people came into the land, right? Into the land, and prior to coming into the land, they assembled, right, on the other side of the Jordan, and they passed through the covenant. So you say, well, what do I have to do with this covenant? You know, I mean, that was my forefathers. I don't want to live by those rules. But you say the point is that, you know, at circumcision, we didn't have to be circumcised. The covenant of the bris, of the circumcision, but that's the law. And later on, we say that we confirm and verify these commandments that were perpetrated on us, and that's after the Shema Yisrael prayer. So we thank God, and thank God for the teachings and the instructions He has given us, and that's why we are so grateful for us, because it says in the Talmud, it says, all nations of the world inherit the world to come. And that's what we're striving for, to inherit the world to come, to be with our forefathers, and to accumulate great mitzvahs and good deeds, so that we, good deeds meaning perfection, so that we can get a spot in the next world, right? That's our goal, so we can praise God and be with our forefathers. And then not to the macho man who says, well, you know, I'm going to be cremated, you know, I don't believe in the whole stuff, law, somebody in cremation. And where's he going to get? You know, in chapter 32, in Exodus, it says Moses saw that God wanted to do away with the Jewish people and make a new people from Moses. He and his children, Gershon and his other son was escapes me. Anyway, so the point is, he said, if you don't forgive the Jewish people, then erase me from your ledger, right? Erase me from your ledger. And God answered over there. He said, I will take it into consideration when I make my final accounting. Look it up, chapter 32 in Exodus. I will take it into consideration when I make my final accounting. Then we will know what our mark is and whether our soul is destroyed or we get the next world, like those people who were killed in the Holocaust and all those horrific times that preceded it, because we went astray and we got punished. Get the book, Behold the People. Look at the book of Shoftim in that book. Behold the People by Millers. It's a continuation of, you know, we're transgressed, God sends a Redeemer, and then you go back and you get back to your old ways and you assimilate, and a new person comes in and God sends a new person continuously, and you transgress. So that's what we have to remember, that today is different. And we have internet and we can reach out, and we have the power to reach out to the people and and tell them that how unique you Jewish people are. God made a special covenant with the Jewish people in 7:6, in chapter 7 and 6. You should be holy to the Lord your God, because God chose you as a treasured people from all the nations of the world. And the same thing is in 14:2 in Deuteronomy. It says over there, you should be holy to, again, God is holy and you should be holy. God is holy, strive for perfection. Right? You should strive for perfection because God has chosen you as a treasured people from all the peoples on the face of the earth. And God comes back in 11, in Deuteronomy, he says, he enumerates all the transgressions, the stiff-neckedness that we did and didn't follow his ways. And then that's in chapter 9. And then in 10, he wants to go back and he still has Rahmana, still has mercy on the Jewish people, because chapter 10, verse 12, what does God ask of you? But to walk in his ways, to serve and to follow his commandments. In chapter 10:14, behold, to God is the heavens and the earth and all that there is therein, but only in your forefathers did he delight to love them, to choose you, his offspring, as of this day that I am saying it to you. With that, I'm going to end the program, and I wish you a happy day. And if you have any friends and you like the program, tell them to tune in. With that, God bless.